think we're live.
Well, hello and welcome to News Live this week. So we've got a few... Yes, good morning. Hope everyone's got their coffee. It's nice and early on a Sunday morning. So we have quite a few news headlines to go through with you this morning. So we have Amazon's app that looks like Hitler, because we all like cats that look like Hitler. So we thought we'd go through the Amazon app as well. And we've got John McAfee, who's been charged with securities fraud, which is entertaining. We've got $10 million for Jack Dorsey's first tweet. We've got Google VR and Microsoft VR. We've got a whole lot of SpaceX related stuff. We've got browser wars. We've got the iMac Pro. We've got Facebook information, or misinformation more to the point, and some cool new technology that's out of Google.
Sounds exciting. I've checked we're live.
Hang on. I've got... Yeah, we are definitely live because I can hear it in my earphones and it's doing my head in. Right. Okay, so... So, let's crack on. So, first up, I think we've got the Amazon app. I don't know if you can bring that up for people to have a little look at, Sam, but the... Amazon quickly reverted their new app logo. So they launched a new app logo earlier this week, replacing the shopping cart, which has been there for quite some time. And I think after they quickly realized that it looked a little like a 1920s musical and silent movie star, they quickly reverted that to be to look slightly different, because it looked too much like someone else who looked like Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious who that is. I thought.
Yeah, a bit of a design fail.
When I saw those tweets go out, I actually thought you were just being a bit innocent with it. I was like, yeah, Charlie Chaplin's one person, it looks like.
Well, you see, the reason why I changed it is because the BBC image had a picture of a certain dictator, but Twitter, various different social platforms didn't like that, and so I had to change it rather quickly so that it looked like a certain musical artist, Mr. Chaplin, and I was actually able to post it on the social platforms after that point. So I did have to make a subtle change myself, because the social platforms didn't like it. But it's a little bit of a fail on Amazon's part there, I think.
I mean, how does that even get out? Do you know what I mean? How do you not look at that and see a mustache? Because the swoop is a smile, isn't it? That's the point. Hate is the smile.
I think the first one's quite good, actually. It's only when you realise that actually it could look a little bit like like a Nazi leader. Because that's a real problem with the toothbrush moustache anyway. You know, it was quite a desirable look, and now can no longer be can be used along with the severe side parting.
Well, we have to be careful with our language on YouTube as well, because they don't like that sort of. Well, you just said a word then that I don't think it'll like, but we'll keep that. We'll hope it doesn't do anything to us.
What, toothbrush moustache?
No.
Not even allowed to reference the party. Well, you should probably quickly take down that image that you're showing then, because that was what triggered it for TikTok. Anyway, let's move on from that design fail. I think the next up is McAfee. So John McAfee has been charged with securities fraud, which is a cracking headline, even if it's probably needs a little bit of explanation underneath that. So what it's actually related to is I can't find my tab. Where's it gone? Yes, there we go. So he's actually being charged with securities fraud, which is essentially trying to boost and devalue crypto. So pump and dump, and using the McAfee Twitter account in order to do so. And so he's been indicted on that charge. This allegedly went on between December 2017 and October 2018. It's just quite entertaining in a way, really, isn't it? That a man who is responsible for security in so many people's computers around the world would actually end up being charged with securities fraud. Not security fraud, but securities fraud.
I mean, he's had a bit of a life, hasn't he? He's gone a bit off the rails. There was a documentary about him as well, wasn't there?
Oh, did you? I haven't seen that.
I I don't know. I just seem to remember something about him. He just went off the rails, basically. He just, you know, too much money, in such a short space of time or whatever. But
Yeah, the
yeah,
money going to your head.
mm. So it's all to do with crypto. See, that's the thing when you.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure it happens elsewhere in stocks and shares as well. All this kind of, you know, I reckon Elon Musk is trying to, you know, uh, affect the price of Dogecoin because he's always tweeting about it, and then there's always hype around Dogecoin around whenever he tweets about it, and then I have a feeling he's trying to manipulate the market there a little bit as well, just in a more subtle way.
Well, yeah, I mean that's interesting, isn't it?
Mm.
Because we hear about Musk all the time tweeting about those sort of things, and that really is manipulating the market.
Well, yeah, in some ways, it's not doing it in such a direct way. I mean, did John McAfee actually like just put a load of money into it then, or something?
The article that we've got with the information on it, I mean, this is an ongoing case, right? So we probably haven't got all of the facts at the moment. It's probably something we can return to at some point.
Mm,
But at the time of speaking, we haven't really got enough information there. It's more of just a headline at the minute. We don't even know if he's guilty yet. I
there
mean,
we
the
go.
thing with innocent until proven guilty and all that. But I think I think Musk has done some equally questionable tweets that would potentially have an impact on markets. So I guess that's interesting, isn't it? Really, do you start to have comments and things that have been made on Twitter, well, causing you problems with
Mm,
with insider trading?
mm. I mean, I was just reading the article now. It's like this is specifically to do with money laundering, so that's pretty. And it probably just goes beyond any kind of manipulation of the market. Is actually laundering money. So, um, yeah.
Well, there is certainly that as well. I wouldn't even know how to go about doing that. So I think let's wait to see how that one sort of evolves. My total experience of money laundering comes entirely from Breaking Bad
Yeah.
and the car wash, and what was
Yeah.
the other one as well? Um, Ozark. Ozark's great.
Ozark. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my entire experience of money laundering. So don't come to me for questions about that.
Nice.
Right, while we're on crypto then, because this is crypto related, let's talk a little bit about NFTs again for the second week running. So just to bring people back up to speed with NFTs, an NFT is a non-fungible token. It is a token that cannot be exchanged for anything else, which is very different to something that is entirely fungible, something that can be exchanged multiple times. That would be something like a pound coin. And an NFT is essentially written into the blockchain, the ownership of which is written into the blockchain. So that is therefore, you can kind of think of it as kind of copyright, in the same sense as like music. Someone will own the copyright of a piece of music. For example, let's say John Fogerty, who doesn't own his copyright for a lot of his Creedence Clearwater Revival songs, that's owned by Fantasy Records. But he is allowed to go out and play that music. It can be shared multiple times. It can be listened to on Spotify. But Fantasy are the ultimate owners for that. And obviously, there's been a lot of artists that have been selling their rights recently as well. But you can think of an NFT like that as well for digital art. So you can share the image over and over again, but someone will own that and it's encoded into a blockchain. So that's the best way I can think of describing an NFT right now. But yes, there is another NFT that is up for sale and that is hitting the news, and that is Jack Dorsey's first tweet on Twitter. Which is, the bidding has been increasing progressively throughout the week and now seems to be somewhere up in the $10 million region for a tweet. So there you go. In fact, it's an image of a tweet, so I don't even think it's the tweet.
An image of the tweet. I mean, well, I mean, you can't. Yeah, I guess that makes sense now. Now that I spend 2 seconds thinking about it. Yeah, because it can't. Why can't? So I don't understand. Why can't I go and just find his first tweet, screenshot it, and make 10 million? Why is?
Well, because you don't own it. That's the thing. It's a digital certificate of it. So it is.
Oh.
So in this instance, it is unique because it is signed and verified by the creator. And so this is actually quite a cool thing in a way because it allows you to start selling digital art that only exists in that digital space. So it's quite
Mm,
cool for artists in that respect.
mm,
There is, it could certainly lead to I guess it being corrupted in the same sense as we just talked about Fantasy Records and Creedence Clearwater Revival. You know, people could get ripped off for their artwork by someone else owning essentially the copyright of it. But in this instance, it's a great way for artists to make money, especially at this particular time when you have people diving into to buy a whole load of stuff. I mean, actually, Grimes, it's mentioned in this particular article, sold NFTs of her artwork, which came up to around $6 million earlier this month. So somebody out there is buying her artwork. Maybe someone with an interest in crypto. Uh,
mm. Trying to manipulate the market, maybe.
Possibly. And the Nyan Cat GIF also sold for roughly 300 Ether. Um, so that's a rough value of around $600,000 as well. So
I just read in this article,
it's
it's actually Jack Dorsey who's selling his own tweet. It's not like someone else is claiming it or whatever. It's actually
oh
him
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
making a tidy
he's
buck.
selling his tweet, so it's a great way for him to make a bit of money. So there you go, Sam. You can get on Photoshop later and knock up a few NFTs. That is the key to your success or anyone's success potentially.
There you go.
Unfortunately, you do need some celebrity power behind that.
Yeah, which I do not have, unfortunately.
Well, now's the time to start. Maybe become a celebrity in the process. Right.
I'll do it through this channel then.
So we've got. Yes, absolutely. Why not? Let's do an NFT of that tech show. In fact, why not? Why the hell not? Someone else, I'll happily give away the copyright. So, right. Well, while we're on, we've done NFTs. So why don't we move on to VR? So Google this week have been on their trend of killing things as they normally do. They've killed a few things since we've been on air, which I think is, I guess, well, not just today, but in terms of the last month. So the first thing, the next thing they've killed most recently is Google Cardboard. Does anyone remember Google Cardboard? Do you remember Google Cardboard, Sam?
I didn't realize it was well. Yes, it was like like a folding cardboard VR headset that would. I mean, it's no different to any other headset, I guess, in its you know accessibleness and the fact that on YouTube on the app it encourages you to use the Google Cardboard on certain videos. So it's essentially a VR headset. It
Well,
was.
yeah, it's a great way to quickly turn your phone into a
Mm,
VR headset, I guess, and experience some VR. But yeah, it's been killed off. So no more will there be a Google VR cardboard anyway. So I think everything is all VR is going to cost a bit more.
mm,
And in the same week, Microsoft at their Ignite conference have been relaunching a whole load of VR with some shaky looking holograms. And it basically seems to be a rehash of some stuff that they launched about 5 years ago, which has now been bundled into a new product. So VR is in the news. And obviously, we've talked about Apple's VR stuff recently, but VR doesn't really seem to be getting a major grip yet, does it? It's not something that's really grabbing everybody just yet.
I think it's just because of the price, really. Obviously, you can get PlayStation VR, and I think that on its own is like £500. That's a lot of money for something which is pretty limited. Um,
Well, it's a pretty cool thing. I mean, when I've used VR stuff, it's
mm,
great. I really like it. But yeah, is it going to take off? Have enough people used it yet?
it sort of felt like that 3D. Remember when 3D was all the rage and all and films and things like that? It sort of
What do you mean
feels
in the
like
80s?
no, no, no. Yeah, the red and blue glasses. No, no, no. I'm talking about polarizing 3D. Um,
Yeah,
and
that's true. Yeah.
it feels like that has more momentum than VR, but I think the potential for VR goes a lot further. So we're just trying to, you know,
Well,
figure
that's a
that
good
out.
point though. With the 3D stuff, what happened to the 3D? Is it just because we haven't been to movie theaters for 12 months, or is
Potentially.
is 3D not really a thing anymore?
I think it still exists. I mean, all these cinemas bought the special projectors and the special
Yeah, they did,
screens and
didn't
all the rest of it. So they must have the technology. Just no one's releasing 3D movies. I think it worked. 3D worked really well in sort of Pixar films and animated films where you could really play with, you know, you, it, the exaggerate. You could exaggerate things and it didn't wouldn't look out of place. Whereas, looking at something like The Hobbit or something like that, it does look great, but you can only go so far with it, and it's like, well, you know, whereas on a
Yeah,
Pixar
didn't they
film, you
have
can,
um didn't they have 15 minutes of the last Harry Potter film or something like that was in 3D? That was
well,
really weird. Just to have
so you had
15
to,
minutes.
yeah, so you had to sit through the whole film with these dark glasses on, and
No,
then
no,
at the
you
end
could
of the
take the
film,
glasses off. I think it said on the
yeah,
screen like remove the glasses now, but it was a bit weird that like it was just the first 15 minutes was
oh,
like
first, I thought you said
yeah.
last.
No, no,
Imagine that.
no, that would be bad. Please place your 3D glasses on now.
Mm.
No, it wasn't like that. It was just the first 15 minutes. But I did like some of those 3D things. It was quite cool as a novelty. But have you seen Avatar without the 3D? It's really not as good.
Yeah, we were talking about this on Friday actually. Gravity is another one of those films where you need to see it in IMAX. Like, it's
Oh,
such
really?
a one-dimensional story that it's great in IMAX because honestly it feels like you're floating above the earth, that you're actually in space. It was fantastic, but because of the one-dimensional story, the sort of lackluster acting from some pretty big stars, like yeah, you have to watch it in 3D, and I can imagine the same with Avatar. It just needs to be in 3D. Although I did quite like Avatar.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, I liked Avatar. I don't think it's as great. Looking
No,
back on it, there is a second one coming as well, though, I believe.
eagerly
Um,
awaiting. Yeah.
but I'm not exactly too sure when. So that's VR. Let's move on a little bit from VR. I think new this week, SpaceX. They've been in the news again a couple of times. So again, there's been more satellites have been launched into space. So we've got more of the Starlink satellites coming out. And in the same week as well, they have also managed to land upright a huge rocket. Is it the Falcon Heavy? The one that's going to take this, the one that's going to take everybody to Mars.
Starhopper. This one's the Starhopper.
Oh, the Starhopper. Okay, so this is
Yeah.
and I think it was based on one of the Falcons, wasn't it? Is that right? Am I completely wrong?
No, this is a different thing altogether. This is just, I think, I'm not quite
Oh, okay.
sure of the. That's going
Because they've
off on
been
my
landing
ears right
things
now.
upright for a while now, but this is the
Mm.
this is a big one, which
Yeah.
does a pretty cool maneuver as well. Have you seen it landing?
Well, that was the point in this specific test, was to perform that maneuver. So they managed to, well, they sort of half managed it. They got it kind of upright, as you probably saw, but the legs didn't deploy properly. They were kind of flopping all over the place, which probably
Mm.
resulted in the explosion. But they don't know. They haven't released anything just yet on it, unless you know otherwise. But yeah, this one was
No, no, I've
specifically
not.
for the maneuver.
Yeah, no, I've not seen that. I've not, but yeah, the explosion was a disappointment. But have you got the video of the belly flop to show that?
Yeah,
I don't know if you can show that one, because that is incredible. Like it just looks so cool the way they managed to
mm,
just take control of the rocket and actually land it the right way up. It's incredible. Just such
yeah,
a
no.
shame that it exploded.
Well, that's the thing. The SpaceX was streaming it, and it hadn't. See, high altitude flight test. Here we go. Everyone's showing the explosion. Share my screen. Everyone's Because, like I say, it landed. It landed. Well, it bounced when it landed.
Oh, I didn't see the bounce because
Well,
the
just a
video
little
I
one.
saw it was shrouded in dust.
Mm,
It is a shame that it happened whilst they were live streaming.
there we go.
Or maybe
Yeah,
not a
but
shame. Maybe nice that we did get to see it. Oh, have
well,
we
it
got
was
it?
it was on it was on other people's streams. Yeah, I'm just sharing it now. It was on other
Yeah.
people's streams. Here we go. Here we go. Right. Yeah. So it's falling in. you can't see this, Chris, but yeah, it's falling horizontally.
Yeah, I'm actually watching it on our live. It's
Oh,
just
there
it's
we go.
about five. It's about 20 seconds behind. So I'll react to this after everybody else has already seen it.
That's incredible. All
It is
three
amazing.
thrusters go, and then they start releasing them one by one, and you've got a single thruster then to take it down. But
I
then
mean, it
if
is
you
just incredible, isn't it? The way you see
mm,
it's sort of coming down totally horizontal,
mm, landing a
and
little
it
bit
just
harshly.
yeah.
Oh, I can see what you're looking at now because I've got the stream up on my other screen.
Hang on, have you got the? Have you got the one that you were showing very briefly there looked like it was a render.
No, no, that was it. That was actually it. And then the explosion. But yeah,
Yeah.
incredible.
But at the same time, there is more news out of SpaceX. So they are ramping up production at their new Texas factory, which will be creating the dishes that everybody can use to actually use SpaceX or consume SpaceX. Not SpaceX, Starlink. I
Starlink.
keep
We
saying.
did this last time.
Yeah, I did this last time. Yeah, can consume Starlink broadband, and they seem to have named the dish now. Do you know what that's called, Sam?
I do, but that's because you told me earlier.
So it's called Dishy McDishface, or no, Dishy McFlatface. So I'm getting it wrong again. So this seems to be a common thing across the internet at the minute to name things in this ridiculous fashion. Because what we've had Boaty McBoatface, haven't we?
That's it, isn't it? Yeah.
Which is now the HMS David Attenborough, I think, if I remember that rightly. But they did manage to keep that in. They managed to keep some of that because the submarine that's on board, I think, is called Subby McSubface. Don't ask the internet to name things. It's not a good idea.
No. It's a good name. I hope that person is very proud of themselves.
I feel
Imagine
like it's
that.
the entirety of the internet that would just come up with that as
Yeah.
a whole thing.
Yeah. Dishy McDishface or Facey McDishface or what? Dishy McFace
Yeah.
faced.
Dishy McFlatface. That's the one. What I think is interesting is if you heard about OneWeb.
No, I'm not.
So OneWeb is a same thing that is trying to deliver a Starlink type internet to the
Hmm.
whole of the world. And there was this was in the news recently. I haven't actually got this up as something for us to go through, but I think there was a purchase relatively recently of OneWeb by the UK government, actually. So yeah, there it is. On July last year, a consortium led by the UK government won the auction to purchase OneWeb, which had gone bankrupt. And interestingly, so they have secured additional funding as well, which was found in January this year, and they've got an extra 1.4 billion. But this is so they've got 648 satellites that they're intending to have launched by 2022. So this is a Starlink. I said that right? A Starlink competitor. But seemingly, this has been in the news this week because they've been talking about whether this. Basically, now that the UK is outside of the European Union, we don't have as much access to all of the GPS satellite information that we would have done through the European Space Agency. And so there was a rumour that buying OneWeb by the UK government would allow them to get into creating their own GPS network. However, OneWeb doesn't have the capability to do that because it's the wrong type of satellite and it's at the wrong level of orbit. So there may have been this is just rumour at the moment, but it seems like the UK government may have bought a whole load of satellites, which is great in the intention that they'll be able to cover the UK with broadband to the people who can't get it. But at the same time, they may have been trying to kill two birds with one stone and might have missed that second bird, I guess, which would be to create a GPS network. Because this is another consequence of Brexit that probably hasn't been thought through. We do have less access to things that are really important, like GPS, because that's how we use maps to know where we're going, and plan directions and all that sort of stuff. And so these are additional costs that that the UK government may have to stump up. But I thought that was an interesting side point, which I was just I remembered from something I'd read in the news earlier this week. I haven't actually prepared that for this session.
There we go. Bonus footage.
Bonus. So what else have we got? We've done Dishy McFlatface, Browser Wars. So this is a very small thing. So Microsoft Edge is getting a new upgrade this week, I believe, or very shortly, with a massive speed upgrade. Supposedly, I think it's going up to how many times faster do they say it's going to be? Several times faster. It says in the article. But their main feature that they're also adding is vertical views of all of your tabs. So for people like me, who have thousands of tabs open at any one time, you'll now have a vertical view of your tabs on the left-hand side, which will give you, rather than just a tiny little icon that you have to remember what the tab was for, it'll have some words on it, which will be nice. And you can also... Go on.
I was going to say, the other thing I noticed, because we mentioned it recently, was the Great Suspender. Edge has that built in.
Yes.
So I found that out the other day.
Sleeping. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And Google are moving to a quarterly release cycle with Chrome, so there'll be more Chrome updates coming, and that puts it in line with Firefox for the frequency of updates. And I think, I'm not sure if we've mentioned this on the show, but you turned me on a little while ago to the Keystone updater in Chrome, and that being something that actually causes your Mac, particularly Macs, I'm not sure if it's a problem for Windows, but the Keystone updater in Chrome can cause your computer to run incredibly slowly. And I've been sharing this with friends of mine who are... well, certainly grateful, as equally grateful as I was to receive it from you, Sam. Because it speeds up your computer massively. You can stop the Keystone updater from updating every 5 minutes, which it seems to be doing, checking for updates in Chrome. When, as we know, we've just discussed, it's going to be quarterly update or monthly updates. You can stop it from doing that. You can get it to check much less frequently for updates. And it speeds up your computer massively. So we could pop that link in the notes so other people can use it, because I mean it just gives you so much more power back in your computer.
Well, it's good you noticed it. I don't use Chrome anyway, so it's good that you've actually noticed it.
Oh yeah, it's a massive update. I mean, I have tried to move over to other browsers, but frankly, I use the Google apps so much for work. They don't run as well on other browsers. So, I know you're an Edge fan at the moment, aren't you? So, I mean, maybe I'll give the Edge another go, especially with this update. I'm just still burnt from IE.
It is a lot better. To be fair, I don't use it. I use Safari most of the time, but Edge, if I need sort of Chromium capabilities, then I'll just open up Edge because it's a lot faster, a lot cleaner. And
so, yes, as the browser wars hot up once again, now let's move on to something else. So we've got the iMac Pro, and it is the end for the iMac Pro. So in the spirit of other things being killed, the iMac Pro is on its way out, which I think is a shame.
Well, like I said, it's just, well, you said yourself, it's really expensive. It's really expensive that they've not updated it. So it's almost like they did it themselves, almost.
Yeah, so when did the iMac Pro come out? It was, 2017, something around that sort of time?
Yeah, 2016, 2017.
Yeah, and it really hasn't had any updates.
No.
So it's been discontinued at the moment, which is a shame because I was planning to get one. Although I was hoping for a reconditioned one, because is so goddamn expensive. I mean, we're
Yeah,
talking
very
like
expensive.
$5,000 for the base model, and if I get it up to the spec that I really want, yeah, we're talking like 12K, and I haven't got
Mm,
12K. It's
mm,
ridiculous for a
mm.
computer. Um,
Running
it's a
Intel.
real shame. What was that? Sorry.
Running Intel.
Well, that's it. I was hoping for an update that was going to bring us the M1 chip on it, but
I mean, maybe it's
yeah,
a sign of things to come, really. But there is space for a mid-tier desktop, like pro desktop. Like there's rumors of an iMac, sorry, Mac Mini Pro. Maybe they're doing
yeah.
something else to sort of bridge that gap because I think there is definitely a need because people don't have the 50K for the Mac Pro. You know, what about those people in between?
Well, I mean, actually, I don't think the Mac Pro is quite that bad price wise, is it? I mean, you can certainly get for the same sort of spec that you were going to get for the iMac Pro. The Mac Pro at the same spec is about the same price. I mean, you're still looking at like 10K, I guess, for a pretty good spec. But obviously, the Mac Pro you can really scale up to the point where you're
Mm,
talking like almost like a gig of RAM, which is a gig of RAM, a terabyte of RAM, which is a gig of RAM. Imagine that. Welcome to the 1995's That Tech Show. Yeah, a terabyte of RAM. That's incredible, isn't it? I mean, you can get that on the Mac Pro, or
mm,
near enough to that scale,
mm,
which is about twice or maybe four times the size of what you can get in the iMac Pro, or could get in the iMac Pro. Um,
mm,
I do think that if they go down that route of creating a Mac Mini Pro, that would be great.
mm. Yeah.
Because part of the problem I think is I want to have like two monitors. So I've got a 27-inch monitor, which you can probably see reflecting in my glasses. I want to have kind of two of them. So I would like to have a Mac Pro would be great for that. But actually, a Mac Mini would take up much less room on my desk, and it would be much more effective. So
Mm.
hopefully they do come up with a Mac Mini Pro. I think that would be pretty cool.
On a similar note, there was a YouTuber who gutted a Mac Mini and put it into an old iMac. So essentially, he's got the world's first iMac with M1 chip in it, basically, and that was quite an
Oh,
interesting watch. Yeah, so there's basically an adapter that converts the Mac into the display port of an iMac into a HDMI input, basically. So you can use it as a monitor. So if you've got an old iMac lying around you, you have this adapter and it turns it into a HDMI monitor. So he did that and connected a Mac Mini to it. It was quite
that's really
cool.
cool. Well, we'll
Luke
have to
Miani.
put that in the let's put that in the show notes because that sounds great.
Yeah,
I'd like to have a look at that at the very least.
yeah, it's great. I'll put it in.
All right, cool. Oh, this is a good one. Facebook. We talk about Facebook every week, don't we? But this one is about Facebook misinformation,
Mm,
which I think is actually what we talk about every week. So, um, this is this is. I'm trying to find this link now. Where's my link gone? Have you got the link there, Sam, that you can share?
yeah.
Because this, I'm going to find this in my notes here. Give me a second. This is an article about Facebook having misinformation on its site, which we kind of know. But this shows particularly that far right misinformation is thriving much more than any of the other misinformation. So this is an NPR article that does actually have some stats in it too, which is nice because we like stats. So it says that of all of the interactions per 1,000 followers, far right content is basically much more engaging. So I don't know if you can bring that graph up, Sam, because that's quite good. But essentially, what they've done is they've analysed more than 8 million posts and 3,000 news and information sources over a 5-month period. And what they found was that those sources were placed in one of 5 categories: far right, slightly right, centre, slightly left, far left. there are so much more far right information that is being shared than is in any of the other categories. And there seems to be a lot less information around the center and slightly left content. You tend to get a greater deal of far left content, which is about the same as the slightly right content. Unfortunately, the slightly right content has 50% more misinformation than the far left content, and the far right content, I think it's looking at the graph, trying to read the graph properly. I guess you're talking about 60 to 70% of the content for far right content is misinformation
Oh my
versus
God.
not misinformation. It's an extreme amount, and you know, you can read that graph for yourself. We like a little bit of data. It would be good to go into the study in more detail. I'm just clicking through so we can bring you this.
I'm a bit behind on getting the screen share up because handoff, as wonderful as it is, decides not to work in many occasions. Which, here we go. Far right misinformation. You'll probably see it in 20 seconds, Chris. But it's yeah, it's a red and green bar graph, a horizontal bar graph, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. So let me just see if I can find. So center misinformation sources perform at about 70% worse than their non-misinformation counterparts. We define misinformation penalty as measurable decline in engagement for news sources that are unreliable. So here we note that the sources flagged as both center and misinformation are primarily focused on health topics and therefore do not fit neatly into right and left for the ideological framework. Interesting.
Mm.
So I think, you know, we'll share that article because it's actually a Medium article. It is under the NPR article, but it talks about the engagement, and basically it says that, you know, far right content is far more engaging, and that is true, I think, because a lot of it does tend to fall into the sort of conspiracy theory category, and you know, conspiracy theories are engaging. I mean, you only have to
Mm.
see the amount of people that will engage in some of the content that you see on like the Discovery Channel, for example, or National Geographic's, you know, like the Ancient Aliens. People love Ancient Aliens. I love Ancient Aliens. I don't know if there's much evidence out there, but I do love the Ancient Aliens. And so,
That's the
you know,
dream.
yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You kind of got to separate the you know, the sensationalism from the reality, and I think that line just gets blurred when you're presented with the same information over and over again. And you
Mm.
know, I think that's the thing. It is some of that stuff is really engaging. The fact that there might be you know, an Illuminati or a New World Order that is you know, behind everything and has an explanation for all the evil things that are going on in the world.
Mm.
It's really compelling stuff. It's very seldom backed up with facts, but it's very compelling.
There you go.
So I think that's interesting. It just goes to show you the sort of stuff that is being posted on the internet and why people find it so fascinating. And it's great that they're doing some analysis into it.
Analysis.
So yes, it would be good to learn a bit more about that. And at the same time, there is another piece of news this week, which is that Tim Wu, a man who coined the phrase net neutrality, is being brought into Joe Biden's White House as an advisor, and he is joining the National Economic Council as a special assistant on technology and competition policy. And it seems that this may be leading us in a direction where the US government starts to look at breaking up some of these tech giants. So this is probably a threat to Alphabet and to Facebook and others, which will be interesting to see how that how that develops, as Wu has actually argued in his book, The Curse of Bigness, Antitrust in the New Gilded Age. The rising concentration across the economy has led to concentrated wealth and power, as well as radicalized politics that threatens American democracy. So obviously the White House bringing somebody in on that, and the president has been clear that he stands up to the abuse of power, and that includes the abuse of power from big technology companies and their executives. So
Wow.
that could be an exciting development
Yeah.
that we can watch out for over the next few months.
Oh God, yeah.
And I think probably, oh, here's one we haven't covered: 3D printing technology. So there seems to have been a breakthrough. And actually, have you got the GIF there, Sam, that you can share with people? Because the GIF is a little scary. Um, so we are pretty close, apparently, to 3D printed organs. That's right, 3D printed organs. The unsettling GIF that shows an artificial hand. It's sped up, the GIF,
Oh,
obviously. It's not actually that quick. But it shows a 3D hand, or a hand being 3D printed within 19 minutes. So this was
wow.
10 to 50 times faster than what you could currently do. So imagine that. And it is made seemingly using lasers to harden liquid resin and a jelly-like substance called hydrogels, which can absorb large quantities of water without dissolving. So hydrogels are used in things like contact lenses, glue, and apparently disposable diapers. So that's nice. Or nappies, depending on which part of the world you're in. And yeah, you would assume that the liquid resin might be for bones and the jelly might be for muscle, I guess. And they can even print tiny details with like embedded blood cells and all sorts of stuff. So we're getting pretty close
My
to Star
God.
Wars, guys. Pretty close to Star Wars. Where you get a 3D printed organ or even 3D printed meat. That could be a new thing in the future. But that's pretty exciting. That's pretty exciting. A good breakthrough.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And scary.
Think, yeah. Think what can you the things you can do with lasers, huh? That's crazy.
Yeah, we knew that they were going to be good for something. Turns out it's for printing
They're good for
printing human.
everything.
Yes, yes. And again, if you've been watching that Facebook misinformation, there might also be some lasers on the moon. Um, um, and then finally, I think this is finally. Have we got anything else to cover? No. I think finally there is an ISO standard which has been doing the rounds this week, and I think some of it has been stirred by. This has been doing the rounds on TikTok this week. How to make the perfect cup of tea. I think this does this does come around over and over again, but there is actually an ISO standard. So ISO 3103 is a standard that was published in when did it come out? It was originally published in 1980 by BSI, the British Standards Institution, and was revised in December 2019. It is a BS, or a BS, it sounds about right, doesn't it? British Standard Institution method for brewing tea. So if there is any doubt over the brewing of tea, you can look up this ISO standard 3103. It is actually on Wikipedia, and that will tell you exactly how you should make your tea. This work also won a Nobel Prize for parody literature in 1999 as well. And there are actually, people who know me will know that I do like a good selection of ridiculous standards, such as the HTCP/CP, or the Hypertext Coffee Pot Control Protocol, which again is a proper standard for communicating with a coffee pot, which includes certain commands such as brew or post, get, obviously, which retrieves the coffee from the
Of
HTTP/CP
course.
server. When, which tells you when to stop pouring the milk into the coffee, if applicable, and even produces certain HTTP errors, such as 406 not acceptable or 418 I'm a teapot, which is actually a standard which is baked into web browser technology. So you can actually have a legitimate status error code for 418, which is actually in Python 3.9 as well, look what it says here. But I do love a good 418 error, which is the response that you get if you try to tell a teapot to brew coffee. Obviously, makes sense, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I was just taking a look at these steps, and it is saying that milk is added after pouring tea,
Well,
with
of course it is.
emphasized after. Of course, I mean, we all know this, but there are certain individuals out there that need to reconsider their life.
Yeah, well, the thing is, on TikTok, there was an American who was trying to tell people how to make a perfect British cup of tea. And the first step was taking a cup of water and putting it in the
The
microwave,
microwave, yeah, yeah, I remember seeing that.
which
Surely
is
that's
just
trolling.
awful.
Surely they're trolling because there was another one, wasn't there? That it did like I don't know, I've forgotten what it was, but I'm sure they were trolling. But it
Well,
was
this goes on to say that apparently, well, it doesn't go this article, but this is a thing that not a lot of Americans have kettles, and they certainly don't have electrical kettles, and largely the reason for that is because uh, well, our kettles, our British kettles, use 240 volts, whereas American electricity often runs, or at least home. Uh, People's electricity in their houses runs at 110, and that is not enough power to boil a kettle. So Americans that do have kettles tend to have them on the hob. So on the hob kettles, which are cool. We like on the hob kettles; they whistle.
I've got a
Um,
hob kettle.
but have you? That's pretty cool.
Means I
Um,
can't brew a tea
so
while we're doing these podcasts.
so yeah, I mean, yeah, most Americans don't actually have kettles like we do in the UK, which probably means that's a reason why they don't drink as much tea, or know that the milk goes in afterwards. I mean, this is also
Mm,
coming from a vegan, so plant milk is also another option.
plant milk, jeez.
But you're not
I'm
allowed to
just
call it
watching.
plant milk, are you?
Why? What is it called? Oh no, because we said about the milk thing, huh?
So yeah, this is an EU directive, so you're not allowed to refer to certain things. Uh, you know, the dairy industry has taken control, and so I'm not allowed to have an oat milk anymore. I'm allowed to have an oat drink. So I apply oat drink or almond drink to my coffee. Well, actually, not to my coffee, but to my tea, because I'm not allowed to call it milk anymore.
I would say an oat drink is something you would have on its own. You know, that's how I'd always read oat drink or whatever. Whereas milk
Yeah,
is
no,
like
absolutely.
I don't know. Doesn't I just don't understand. I just don't understand this new world we're living in.
No, it doesn't make any sense, really, does it? But I think they did. I think we got away with it a little bit with some of the meat-based products. So you are allowed to have like a vegetarian burger or vegan burger or sausage, because realistically they are just shapes anyway. But the dairy industry really did take hold and win in the sense that you're not allowed to use cheese or milk to refer to non-dairy based products at the moment,
Okay.
as it currently stands. But these things may all change, especially with this 3D printed technology. So that's all of the news that I wanted to cover for today. Sam, have you got anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think you covered it all. I had my little space hopper news insight that I gave. Nothing from me.
Yeah. So that's it. Another session of listening to me waffle on about the news, largely. Apologies for not including you so much in that, Sam.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
But yeah, that's it for today, I think. And we have a new episode that is going to be coming out on Tuesday morning. This week it's going to be Aaron, I think. So we'll be talking a lot with Aaron about recruitment, which is great. So it's a really good episode with a really good insight into recruitment and to Aaron himself, actually, and how he got started in recruitment and the tech
Mm.
industry. And he is a special breed of recruiter, actually, very, very technical. So it's nice to include him in the show. And it was a really great conversation. So I'm looking forward to getting that episode out and for you guys to all be able to hear that on Tuesday.
Cool. I'll see you Tuesday.
Yeah, that's it for today. Thank you, everybody. And see you next time.